Hey there, and welcome to my afternoon lecture. Sorry, I'm a minute or going on 2 minutes late here. Gosh, let me share my screen. We have a good one for you today. This is marketing yourself directly to the decision maker and how, my gosh, does that really work and how do we do it? And what kind of confidence must it take to be able to do that? Well, we do have to build up our confidence. If you think about how hiring decisions are made, if we believe you're capable and qualified. By the way, you do not have had to have done this job before. Otherwise, we could never, ever move around in our career. And actually, eventually companies would all collapse because we'd run out of people that have done the job before. So you have to understand, people will give you the chance. That does not mean they're not going to test you, question you, and all of that other stuff out there. You have to believe in yourself more than the next 5 or 6 people that want that same job. So today is marketing yourself to the decision maker and really how to engage that person, how to use direct outreach to kind of change the whole equation. I'm going to give you a lot to think about today, and yet don't let somebody else think for yourself. I live at Grand Street FDR, which means I get into Chinatown quite early in the morning sometimes in a non-pandemic world. If I get there early these days, it's really because I'm out doing cardio. But pre-pandemic, gosh, I'm heading toward the subway, and like everybody else, I got a million things going on in my head, and lead, follow, get out of the way. I got to get there. And I look up, and suddenly I see this entire hog walking down the street up on top of somebody's shoulders. I'm like, wow, look at that. By the way, you can see some amazing things in Chinatown at 8 o'clock in the morning. I highly recommend a trip if you have not been there. But this was on his t-shirt. Oh, yeah, hog caught my attention, but don't let somebody else think for yourself. You're going to have to put down that mobile device, put down the mobile phone, whatever it might be, whatever's distracting you. You're going to have to get out of the back seat and behind the wheel. We're not likely to get to the destination you're imagining for yourself. This likely is going to have to require a whole paradigm shift in your approach to job search. It's comfortable, by the way, to click send, hit apply online, submit until no one's responding back to us and we're not getting these interviews. And that's not very fun. We're kind of waiting for someone to pick us. I'm just going to be perfect. They'll just see me. They'll just pick me if they're not going to pick you. They're waiting for the right person to reach out to them and convince them that they are the right person. My gosh, you're the one. That requires a paradigm shift in our communications and how we present ourselves. A lot of unconventional thinking and moments of clarity will come out of this entire process. So change the equation of your diminishing returns by changing the rules. What does that mean in terms of what I recommend? By the way, everything I'm teaching you is my opinion. You should take it with a grain of salt, probably pitch it right over the shoulder for a little bit of luck. But it is my opinion. Make sure it parses and manages and is valued the same way as you look at other opinions that you consider. So what it means to me in job search is really this process of understanding that applying online in general tends to send your resume to the wrong people, in John's view. Where that tends to go, in my view, is the HR department. And there's only one person or one type of person the HR department hires, and that's HR individuals. They don't hire anybody else in the company. They may facilitate the discussion, offer letters, everything else, but they don't make the decision. They don't hire. They hire HR folks. So why are you contacting those people whose mission in life is to rule you out? By the way, that's not because they're bad people. That's because they have 1,000, 2,000 resumes being sent in, and they have this cryptic fill-in-the-blank list from the manager going, oh, this is what they're looking for. And they're trying to match it up like some triangle to triangle, square to square, circle to circle. And that's why it's also frustrating. But you know what? A 90-second conversation with the decision maker, they know exactly why you're right for this job or not. Can't talk yourself into a job you're not right for. But it is the place, in my view, to showcase why you are not only capable, qualities, you're changeable, but somehow different, exceptional, special. Now, outreach messaging during a pandemic, or as we head toward the end of the pandemic, hopefully, encourage everyone to get those vaccines. Reaching out to the decision maker is pretty scary. But if we think of it as a mechanical process, something where it's like a lawnmower, those old-fashioned lawnmowers, with the pull rope. I got to pull that thing to start the engine. but it's been sitting out in that garage there all winter. Now it's time to fire it up to mow the lawn, and that thing's choking rather than starting, and I have to pull the string, pull through. That's how starting your engagement engines are when you reach out in job search. It's hard at first. It doesn't want to begin. It doesn't want to become a motor that's humming. But the more that you begin to systematically reach out and introduce yourself, things will begin to change. Now, a lot of what I describe in my lectures is a lot of different activity. So much activity, you'll lose track of what to do next. Well, here's your guiding principle right here. Is this the most effective use of my time at this moment? By the way, I use this as well. Quite a number of years back, when I had first started speaking and presenting and my book was out there, I'm sitting on my home office couch, even in those years, and I'm sending out these press releases one at a time, one after another, to journalists to introduce myself as a new voice in job search, someone that they should speak to, quote, and use for their articles. And boy, I did not like that activity. Is this the most effective use of my time at this moment? Yes. Actually, I won the argument. Yes, it was the most effective use. I certainly did not like what I was doing, but it was worthwhile. I had intellectually, come to the conclusion that was worth the investment. So I went back to it. I just do it. 2 hours later, I got a call from the Wall Street Journal. Oh, it's a very good use of my time. You have to make your decisions on investing your time very, very carefully and wisely, not falling into the trap of doing things that we like to do. In case you haven't seen me before, John Crant, author, career coach, and speaker, resume and LinkedIn guru as well. I should put a shout out to welcome people that are watching both on Facebook, on YouTube, now on LinkedIn Live, of course, out on Twitch as well. If you happen to be watching there, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, all that kind of stuff that's there. I really appreciate it. So I'll tell you a little bit more about my background as we go along, but let's get back to job search. Job search, in my view, is a sales process. We have to go after the job. We have to sell, but we just want to apply and get it. It doesn't really work that way because everybody's sitting at home doing that same thing, hit that darn button. Of course, almost always says submit, not apply. Occasionally, submit, all capital letters until we're so submissive. It's like a Friday night waiting for that phone to ring. Oh, it's going to ring. Oh, it'll be a telemarketer. That's for sure. Leaves us in a pretty unhappy place. We don't have to spend too much time there. Job search, effective job search, requires problem solving. Think back to your career. Think back to your career, to the most important, stressful project that you worked on. What level of stress was involved in that? What level of pressure? What level of focus in problem solving? My gosh, the most important project for you to solve right now is your job search and your career next step. You've got to put the same level of intensity and focus as was put on that commercial project or nonprofit project, whatever it might have been, because job search is a sales process. We can't get away from that part of it. So just who is it that makes the decisions? Because we have to begin to control the discussion of ourselves and influence those people. So HR, well, if we'd like to work for HR, absolutely, that's your decision maker. If not, the hiring manager, maybe the boss's boss, boss's boss's boss. That's top-down selling, by the way. Just start 2 or 3 levels above the decider. Win that person's view, and they'll introduce you right down the food chain. And when you get introduced down the food chain, you always get that interview. So not very difficult for us to kind of know how the organizational charts in our typical companies work. You've experienced it. You've lived it. You really kind of understand it. So it's right there. I don't really have to read it for you. You get that part. I have to think about how I influence all the people that influence the decider, not just the decider. In fact, the decider may be afraid of you. Not quite sure if that's the right one for you to work for, but maybe you can take their spot by approaching their boss or their boss's boss and inspiring them. Maybe they're further up the food chain, not so happy with the decider. Maybe that's why they're trying to hire a solution very quickly before they get shown the door. So just to go over what I believe job search really should be, rather than sitting on the internet looking at job postings. By the way, I think that's pure tragedy. 50% of your time is wasted because about half of all job postings you see are not real in the first place. That comes out of how they are sold up to 1 year in advance. No idea up to 6 months or a year ago what they're hiring today, and yet have to fill in those spots I already paid for something I may hire someday, which has little relevance on today. Reverse the whole project. Why don't you select the organizations or companies that you have to go work for? Not because you see an open job. This is very similar to dating. It can't be, oh, I see an unavailable, available unaccompanied person. Maybe I'll just go ask them for a date. You want a date? You want a date? You want a date? Who wants to go with that person? You have to approach the people that you can't resist. I had to cross the room and meet you. I don't know why. I felt compelled. Was it my hair? Was it my eyes? Who knows what it is? But it's very similar to a dating process. So if you come up with the organizations that you're dying to work for and you really put some heart into that, then all you have to do, even if you think that this is not possible, what John's saying is not possible. If it was, how do I think like a detective, a little bit of a Sherlock Holmes, maybe align the sun, the moon, the stars working backwards to open up a pathway? It's all possible. Discover the decision makers. My LinkedIn lecture, we show you exactly how to get there. I believe we'll have a few screens here that will show you how to get there. LinkedIn lecture, by the way, is right on my Self-Recruiter website, about halfway down the page. You can see me large, the slides large. Really, you can use that as a start and stop tutorial while you improve your LinkedIn profile to become a three-dimensional sales brochure all about you. That naturally drives the reader to one conclusion. My gosh, if I hire that person, work with this person on the project, best business decision I'll make today. Of course, those decision makers, when we discover them, we reach out to them. Their job is to object to you. But John, you don't have background in this industry. You know I don't. By the way, I don't have background in the industry. I can't fake that. So the best way is to use an agree but disagree technique and confront it head on as if that's actually an asset. You know I don't, but I'm sure Jack, Jim, or Jill, you'll meet lots of those type of candidates in the other people you speak with. You know, what I bring to the table is something very, very different. And here's why I think I'll be the very best individual for this role. And I have to make my case. Overcome the objections. They wouldn't waste oxygen on the objection if they didn't want you to, let's see what you say here. Get a meeting, dazzle them. Either get that job or have them give you the job or have them create a job for you. So the number's 30. I know it's a tough number. 30, yeah, 30 companies you're dying to work for. Why don't you come up with 10? Can you come up with 10? I know you can come up with 10. Come up with 10 companies you're dying to work for, and then go pull all their 2 or 3 top competitors. Sure, cross out a few you're not interested in, cross out a couple duplicates, that kind of thing. And you know what? Then you're probably going to end up with about 30 companies that actually you'd love to go work for. That statistically changes everything for you because they're perfect to hire you. The only unknown is, do they really have an opening? By the way, a good recruiter, this is exactly what they do when they find a superstar candidate. They do a little process to create a list of 30 companies statistically perfect. By the way, I teach 2 methods for that right in the LinkedIn lecture, right on the homepage, halfway down the page. So you create this list, and then you have to warm up your audience because it's a sales process. I'm going to have to choose these companies. Here's the real steps. I'm going to have to select 25 to 30 individuals up the food chain, down, left and right. 25 to 30 people that really ideally surround that job. People that I might have interaction with almost every day if I had that job. You open their profiles, triggers a marketing event. They show up on LinkedIn as having looked at them. 6 people have looked at, who's looked at me? The moment you look, you can't resist. You look again, Ask them to connect. Gentle message that says, you don't know me. I'm professionally appropriate. Give them a little stroke to the ego. Sounds like I like to connect with other professionals in our niche or niche, depending how we like to say that. And of course, I'd love to add you to my professional network on LinkedIn. Accomplishes all of that. By the way, they may or may not respond back. Out of 25 to 30, you probably get 10, 12 acceptances pretty quickly. Oh, I know you want them all. It's not about that. Both of those activities are taking a worm, sliding it on a hook, tossing it out into the pond, if I can get my finger in there, and just let it wiggle around until someone clicks on it and they're on your sales brochure about you. That's the point. And then without waiting, because it's sales process, the answer to the connect request is completely irrelevant. Why would I wait? Now I simply look at the 25 to 30 people. I pick 3, 4, or 5 decision makers. You're only brave enough to pick one. I hope you like your heart getting thrown against the rocks over and over. Statistically, they're not going to respond. But if you reach out to 3 to 5 at every organization, magically 1, 2, or 3 will be in discussion with you if you have the right outreach. Book a meeting, sell, and repeat. Make this an engine that moves. Now, really in managing an effective job search, you have to understand sales, and that is a funnel This is not miraculous. It's everywhere on the internet. You've probably seen one many times before, but really it takes a lot of activity at the top to suddenly create that awareness and suddenly create interest and send consideration of you finally getting down to hopefully multiple offers. But if you want multiple offers, you're going to have to understand that you should be approaching 10 companies simultaneously. If you're not approaching 10 companies simultaneously, and that's a lot of juggling, 25 to 30, 3, 4, 5, all the follow-up, because they don't necessarily respond from the first outreach. It may take 3, 4, 5 outreaches. You can see how this activity can spiral out of control, which is so useful to have this guiding principle of, is this the most effective use of my time at this moment? Your goal there also out of 10 organizations and that pursuit is to produce one brand new initial interview for a new organization every single week. Oh, I know that's a tough one. That's a tough one. Maybe some of you haven't had an interview in 6 weeks or longer. One a week, yeah, it does take a lot of activity, but it's a process. If you disconnect emotionally and just run it mechanically, it will produce a much better outcome for you. So I'm going to connect with people. I'm going to warm them up. That's the 25 to 30 up the food chain, down the food chain, left, right. I'm going to open and ask to connect because that's part of the whole sales process, which kind of begins to advertise myself to the right people that surround that job. So maybe they could go, we need a person just like this. You do. Position myself to get struck by lightning. You send that message that's the right one. By the way, I think it's coming up on screen. Oh, there it is right there. You write it one time ever, and you copy and paste it forevermore. Accomplishes everything that you're really after and begins to position. But there's no waiting, as I said earlier. Now you select the 3, 4, 5 people likely to be involved in the discussion for a person like you. You're creating a lot of awareness. You're creating a lot of knowledge about these companies, the organizational structure. Why would you acquire all of that knowledge and then lose it? So build out a company development sheet or a target company sheet, whatever you want to call it. By the way, I'll tell you where you can just download this for free or download this process for free. You want to think about capturing that information and using some tool to help you move to the next step, the next step, the next step, because this is a sales process. And you got to disconnect emotionally and run it like a chess game. Small little changes, of course, change everything, including perception. Your script is likely going to have to change as well. So one of the key factors today, because of our situation, is ability to be effective in your job remotely. But I've never worked remotely, or when I did, it didn't go so well. Okay. But that's our challenge. We can't run away from it. So maybe if we don't have that real experience in our background, we might have to talk about a different angle. Maybe you've interacted with vendors or managers or teams or clients that were off-site. That's a way of working remotely. Or maybe another way of demonstrating remote ability is even this concept of, have you been a speaker on conference calls or webinars, or maybe even at conferences themselves? Another way to convey that you can be effective at a distance. Now, let's get back to the decider, or really not just the decider, because the whole goal is really about like a wave of change, and that is influence. How can you influence all of the people that have some input? Let me show you how you get to anybody that you'd like to get to, whether that's the boss's boss, or my desired target, the boss's boss, further up the food chain. Well, a few ways to get to people. Well, there could be name mentions in things for your industry. Those could be articles, books, events, blogs, press releases, company websites. There's so many places to get name mentions and then follow up with those people. You could get referrals as you're out there reaching out and having discussions. There's lots of places you could take those conversations when you get or don't get your initial goal to uncover other people to network with. So referrals are a huge very valuable connective tool. Using LinkedIn and our understanding of the typical org chart for our industry, it's very easy to reverse search LinkedIn and really find the people that you're after. So this LinkedIn and org chart piece is very, very important. Let's show you on LinkedIn how we're really going to do this. So unified search box at the top of any single page. There it is. Doesn't matter which one I use. I'm going to search right there. In this example, I am searching Informatica, big database middleware company. By the way, they used to be a huge cash cow of mine as a client, as a recruiter. Made lots of placements with them. Love the company, by the way. As you begin to type, it's going to give you this drop-down menu. Oh my gosh, don't click on it. Don't click on it. That's a trip down the rabbit hole. Don't do it. Simply type what you'd like, hit enter, and you get this nice secondary sorting process. Fantastic. You know, I am here to pitch myself to Informatica, but there must be other organizations I haven't thought of that would also like to maybe consider hiring John. So while I'm here, I'm also brainstorming and problem solving, looking for other companies I didn't think of. So there it is. It's hidden right there. I click companies. I go, show me the companies. Wow, 34,000 companies. Now that's a lot of companies. I know these on screen all say Informatica, but when you get on the list, I mean, that disappears pretty quickly. Yeah, a couple dozen are Informatica. Who are the rest of these 34,000? I can certainly tell you that was one of my fields. These are all down the list, are all system integrators. They either install or resell Informatica software. If I am statistically right to work for Informatica, I'm very likely statistically right to work for a great number of these companies. This is one of those methods I teach. Just one of them. There's another one over in the LinkedIn method, LinkedIn lecture, to really create this statistically perfect list. But now I really have to find the people. So I go back and say, okay, but show me the people. What do we got? What do we got? 2.5 million. Ugh, that didn't help. I should also mention I'm only on the free version of LinkedIn. If you'd like the paid version, you should go for it. But I can do all this on the free version of LinkedIn, so I do it. 2.5 million is not going to help me. So I'm going to have to put my thinking cap on, problem solving, brainstorming. Yes, that's what this is about. Really show me the ones in the US. I don't need to see them everywhere. And you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't need to see those people from 3 years ago, Informatica. I need the ones that are currently working for Informatica. What do I get? 1,615 results. I love it. But, you know, that's still too many. I can't look at that. Going to have to apply some more brain power. You know, maybe it's a VP. I think a VP is going to hire me. Look at that. Just a simple VP search, even on the free version. Really in the US, really Informatica currently. What do I get? 75 VPs, 75 VPs. Okay, a lot of chiefs, Maybe it's a director. Maybe it's a director, really US, really Informatica. Maybe that's what I'm looking for. 228 directors. It's problem solving. You have to work your way through it. But because I problem solved, I now realize what it really is. I'm after a sales director in New York City. Forget the United States. Sales director, even on the free version, right down to New York City. Currently working for Informatica. What do I get? 3. 3. My gosh, now I have 3 people. I love it. Now I have 3 people I could reach out and introduce myself to. And that's phenomenal. But you know, if I had 5, my odds would be better. So maybe there's a sales VP, a little bit of nuance in title, really in the greater New York City area, really currently working with Informatica. Oh my gosh, there's 2 of them. Now I have 5 people to reach out to. Of course, I'm going to ask these folks to connect with me. Hopefully I already have. If I get frustrated because they present me this send in mail, in my view, please don't send an in mail. It's considered spam. Actually, it's not considered spam. It's literally spam. It's the literal definition of spam. It's paid email. So my inbox, as example, on LinkedIn is filled with well over 1,000 unopened messages, just endless spam junk mail pitches to me. So email me directly if you'd like to be in contact. But I'd like to connect with Nick here. How do I do it? Well, even if I load Nick's profile, they're going to frustrate me. But my gosh, I can click on the button and they just hit the connect button right over here behind the tree. Oh, they'll never find it over here. And there's that message. You write one time ever, copy and paste forevermore. It's a sales process. And yes, we have to connect with people. So you get it. Reach out to these 25 to 30 people. Open and ask to connect, warm up your audience. Don't wait. Select the 3, 4, 5 people, reach out to them, collect that information so you don't lose it. You could use that on this job search down the line or your job search next time round. And there's going to be a next time because we no longer live in the world where you're going to have one job for a very long time. You're going to have one more job and one more job. And after that, one more job. That's the world we live in. So begin to collect this equity. Now, first step. Hi, this is John. I'd like you to hire me. Okay. Hopefully not quite like that. I don't think that one's going to go very well. That usually says, how'd you get my number? Take me off your list. Did you apply online? Get it off my phone. It's about how we use our soft skills to open a relationship channel. We're trying to avoid this one-off communications and open up a relationship so I could contact you again. The most effective way in outreach is to do what I call a coordinated marketing campaign, which involves a 1-2 combination, which I'm going to describe to you, and then relentless follow-up. You know, like one of those little dogs that grabs onto your ankle or the pants and is never letting go, no matter how much you might shake a little bit. Relentless follow-up like that. So 1-2 combination is pretty simple. I'm going to write the email that I'm going to reach out to them. By the way, that email is as simple as, Dear Jack, I just had to reach out, introduce myself to you. I'm so excited by what I see going on at XYZ company, ... We're going to give you all the script coming up. We're going to analyze a couple scripts as well. But so I write the email and it's up on my screen ready to send, but I don't send it. Now here comes the combination 1-2. I pick up the phone to dial them. I dial them. If it goes to voicemail, I leave the voicemail. If I did not mess up the voicemail, I click send on the email. If I messed up the voicemail and couldn't re-record it, now I can click in front of my email and correct my misstep and go, sorry about that voicemail. I thought I could re-record, but I just had to reach out and introduce myself to you. Yes, I fall on my sword, and then I go right back to the pitch. Now, if they answer the phone live, there's one slight adjustment, and I say, hey, good morning, Jack. I click send. I just had to reach out and introduce myself to you. Oh, by the way, I sent you an email, but I don't think you'd seen it. You know, I'm so excited by what I see going on at XYZ company. By the way, right now, they're overlooking at their email going, where's the email? And now your message is coming in through their eyes and in through their ears simultaneously. Very, very effective. And by the way, the reason to pick up the phone and call, even though it's going to voicemail almost all of the time, is because they cannot hear your passion in an email. But they can hear your passion, composure, and ease in a voicemail message, if you understand how to leave a good one. Friendliness and optimism, bottom of the list there. That has to be really high on your EQ, your emotional intelligence quotient here. So let's think about how we're going to use all of that ability to engage someone else. Every single communication piece is part of our communication strategy to win them over. And at every stage, we have to be aware of our brand. Every single thing that could help separate us from other people, that's the key to controlling the discussion and the thought about you. Of course, we have to think about the competitor. We have to beat those folks, and we've got to take control of the discussion away from them. Your communications channel, by the way, could be casual, direct, indirect. There's a lot of different ways to go about it. By the way, one of my clients secured their interview simply by wishing the decision maker happy birthday, no other verbiage, just that, on their Facebook, which tells you they were connected to the decision maker on Facebook in advance of having or going after that job. Boy, so there's a lot that you can do here, but you have to think about it. It's a chess game, a strategy game. So really, every single thing that you put together, no matter what outreach you choose, has to somehow be about them and your excitement for the value you could bring to them. That's just a little bit of a different angle in how you approach them. That means you never forget it's the date. You avoid the one-offs because there's so many avenues to develop this communication channel, and I can't just rely only on one thing. I have to think about all the different ways that I could either introduce, extend my relationship or discussion, even right down to leave behinds if I get an interview or a thank you note process. Remembering, of course, it's a date, and that's how you create engagement, which maybe we're going after a little more mechanical in our process, but it's very similar to the romantic type of the engagement. They have to fall in love with your skill set. That is the true influence. It's a lot of work, and there are a lot of steps, but let's get you through the script. That is the core piece that's really going to help you. What do I say? What do I write? And it's almost the same whether you say it or write it. Hi, this is John. I'd like you to hire me. Well, of course, we hope it's not quite like that. Let's analyze a few other scripts here. I wanted to introduce myself. I'm Jack Smith. I'm an expert at A, B, and C. I'm looking for a new opportunity, and I'd be a valuable asset to your company. I'd love to meet with you. Okay, actually, that sounds pretty good, especially the way I say it. I sound so bright and optimistic, but let's analyze this, because we have to make sure we understand who the message is about, because it's a date. Walk in the room. Do you want a date? 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 Anybody want a date with that person? I don't think so. We're not looking for some random thing. So who is this one about? I want it. I'm an expert. I'm looking. Valuable asset. Your company. I'd like. You know what my reaction to that is? Who cares? You're interrupting my day. So you forgot to make it about me. You made it all about you. And then no one's interested. Think of it this way. Can I visualize why you could be valuable to me? If I can, you're probably telling the story the right way. If I can't, you're probably telling it the wrong way. Let's look at another one here. What I do is very interesting. You know what architects are good at? Architecture. You know what they're not very good at? Running the back end of their business. You know, that's what I do. I've run the back end of the business now for several architectural firms. In fact, I'm looking for a new opportunity right now. Okay, interesting there. Well, my gosh. Let's analyze that and figure out, well, who is this one all set up to? Oh, very interesting. Setting the stage for the story, setting the atmosphere, and then telling the background with a visual storytelling element that pops in people's brains. I really disclose zero details about what this person actually does, and yet you have a full grasp on what they actually do. Architects are very good at architecture. Set up the visual in the brain, running their business. That's what I do. I've done it for several architectural firms, all of the value now packaged in their brain in seconds without detail. Let's look at another one. Yet we're getting a little more complex because when we get into the real world, we may have more things to say than just the minimal script. I just had to reach out and introduce myself to you. I'm so excited by what I see going on at XYZ company. Oh, congrats, by the way, on the very nice feature I read in the Wall Street Journal. You know, my background includes handling similar launches I'd read about in the article, handling really all those issues I'm guessing you might be experiencing with this launch. You know, I'd love to come in and meet with you and share how we overcame launch issues. I have an opening on my calendar Wednesday at 10 a.m. Might that work for your schedule, Jen? I know that's a little more text, but let's analyze this one. I just had to reach out and introduce myself to you. Now, I had a client that reached back out to me and they said, "Oh, it's not working. It's not working." I'm like, "What? The outreach?" "Well, what are you writing?" I'm writing what you're writing." "Well, send it to me. Let me see it." And then they wrote, "Dear Jack, I just had to reach out and introduce myself." That is not what I said. That is all about you. You left out the two most important words. Introduce myself to you, which makes it the date. Small changes change everything. So to you, so excited by what I see at XYZ company. Congrats on the very nice feature. Wall Street Journal, similar launches you might be experiencing. Love to meet with you, share, overcame launch issues. This one is really all about them and delivering valuable to them, setting yourself up so you are so enticing they cannot resist the conversation. Adjust it. Go back to this one. Think about how you're going to change, how you're going to expand, how you're going to make sure it's about them before it's ever about you. Really keeping everything in this idea, I'm saying it's an element of a date, it's an element of a job search, it's an element of a sales process, and every single word could open doors that you didn't dream existed. Be persuasive. Now you got 30 seconds. 30 seconds to live or die, and dying sounds like, "How'd you get my number? Take me off your list. Never call me again." Security. Okay, so 30 seconds, and how do we do it? Now, by the way, you can download all this. Just go to my website, click on the advice tab. Once that loads, look for the job search management system right there. You can download that, and then you'll have these forms and the guides to work with, which will help you just a little bit here. So this particular form, we're going to zoom in on this form. The text on the left will remind you of what I'm teaching you now as you write out your own script. Nope, not expecting you to write your script right this second. But let me take you through the structure so you can understand how it works. I'm going to greet them because that's what's expected. I'm going to wait for the response, which nobody wants to do because we're afraid of, "How'd you get my number? Take me off your list. Never call me again." Security. Acknowledge their response, good, bad, or ugly. I can't pretend I didn't hear it. Tell them why I'm calling. Get to the point. Get to the point. Get to the point. The point, by the way, is something dazzling. Now, if you went to one of those schools, and there's only about this many of them, if you went to one of those schools, my gosh, mention it. I see the doors literally fly off the hinges for my clients for those kind of things. So yeah, my gosh, mention that part. If you didn't go to one of those schools, put the education aside for the moment. That's not really the sell piece. Get right to 2 or 3 delivery items that would make them jump out of their seat, and then simply close them. And closing is simply a scary sales term, which people misunderstand. They think it's asking for what you'd like. That's specifically not closing. You have to ask for what you'd like and ask for agreement to it. And that's where they say no. That's why everyone's afraid of actually doing it. Well, let me let you hear how this typically might sound. Hey, good morning, Jack. Or whatever our style is. By first name. It's John Crant, just like they should know who that is. But if I don't say my full name, they're going to be listening to the voice, trying to figure out who they're listening to, and they don't know me. Now they're not listening. So right away when I say it's John Crant, and I have to say that a little bit spaced so you can hear my last name, and they go, oh, I don't know John. I just had to reach out and introduce myself to you. I'm so excited by what I see going on at XYZ company. By the way, I saw the Wall Street Journal article on your new such and such launch. Those things are always so good to get. Yes, why don't you be a real human being communicating to another real human being? And then that critical moment where I just stroke their ego, that's where I attach my value. You know, I handled at XYD company, I handled a very similar launch. You know, I'd love to come in, just dangle a carrot, something valuable that's worth a meeting. I'd love to come in and share with you how we tackled all those issues I bet your team's experiencing. By the way, don't tell them what they're experiencing because nobody likes that. I would like to come in and share how we dealt with all the issues your team's experiencing. Don't tell me what my team's experiencing. Offer it, open, understand how to approach people gently in a way that's still persuasive. And then close them for what you'd like, you know, after you pitch yourself, you have to go for the meeting. Have an opening Tuesday at 10 a.m. Might that work for a brief meeting? Might that work for a brief meeting is a gentle handoff where brief solves the only real problem. Don't waste my time. Oh, it's brief, I can handle it. And might makes them feel in control, as if really they have any control in this process. Write out a great script and practice it. Also, maybe develop a relationship where you can call them back, but not call them back to bother them. That's not going to really help. So you have to make sure that every one of these people that you connect with is a potential asset. And yet you can burn out those assets with really communication mismanagement very, very quickly. You have to build trust and rapport without alienating them. So maybe it's this agreement to a relationship. By the way, when I was first taught this as a recruiter, I thought this was the most ridiculous thing I'd ever heard of. No, I'm supposed to ask them for it. They've rejected me for some reason because of maybe they just hired or who knows what. And now I'm supposed to ask for a relationship so I can call them back. And it works. It works if you understand some dynamic here. Jack, from time to time, I'll run into something, you know, some interesting situation when speaking to others in the industry. You know, it could be helpful, would be helpful to run a scenario by you. Would it be okay if I gave you a call for your opinion or your advice if something were to come up in discussions? By the way, I really did think this was total hogwash when I was a recruiter, and yet it worked. And I thought, I mean, because we forget that these managers we're after, they live in a bubble. They're busy with their work life. They're busy putting out fires all day long. And what they can't do very effectively is stay in touch with what's going on out there in the industry. And this is what this provides. So time to time, not going to waste your time. It's going to be brief. Interesting situations and that they can't resist, essentially. Speaking with others in the industry or others you'd love to know about is the subtext. Oh, helpful, because everybody would like to get some brownie points in life. If we could be helpful, if it'll benefit me at the same time. Run a scenario by you. Oh, I love to hear scenarios because I learned so much from those. My opinion and advice. Oh, you can begin to understand why this works so well. By the way, I may never call them back for that advice again, but you've strengthened the relationship by setting up that dynamic. As you get to the end of any outreach, you're going to either get or not get your main goal and maybe get or not get your secondary goals. Your goal is to not hang up the phone, to not end the email back and forth. You have to keep it going. So what could you get from this call? What could you get from this email interaction? What could you get from this online interaction if it's there? What should I say? What can I leave them thinking? What are they thinking? And what are my skills? And is there something else I can do? You know, Jack, I know with your background and position within the industry, you must hear things. Who do you know that's hiring right now? Well, I look at ABC Company. Why didn't they say that before? It's not Jack's job to tell me where to go look for another job. It's my job to get Jack to tell me where to go look for another job if he can't provide it for me. It's my job to inspire him. Don't be afraid. Go after some other discussion points. So just as a recap, choose the organizations or companies themselves, select the 25 to 30 individuals, open those profiles, ask them to connect, email the 3, 4, 5 decision makers, book a meeting, sell, and repeat. This does not stop. These are gentle, figurative nudges that are going to coax attention. Don't let somebody else think for yourself. Run your job search in an effective way. And let's get over whatever has been holding us back in the past. We're going to have to know our story. We're going to have to present our story in an exciting way because we are there to make our case as the very best individual that they're going to hire. Wherever you are in your process of direct outreach, even if you're still doing it by email, you know what? You can accomplish about 90% of the goals simply by effectively using email. But that extra 5, 8, 10% you can get by picking up the phone and leaving some great messages. Hopefully you'll help move things forward for yourself. This has been How to Market Yourself to a Decision Maker. I'll be back here every Tuesday at 4 p.m., every Wednesday at 12 noon over the summertime. This will be on Facebook, on LinkedIn, out on the YouTube channel itself. And if you need some help, don't hesitate to reach out by email. My packages are overall under my services tab on the website, and the LinkedIn lectures halfway down my homepage right there with both myself and the slides. You could have me large, the slides large. Use it as a start and stop tutorial to transform your profile into a 3-dimensional sales brochure. Thank you guys for joining in today. I hope you have a wonderful one. It is a beautiful one out there, and we'll see you next week. Take care.